Howdy, y'all. Got a beautiful, nice, cool morning this morning.
And it's good because we got a lot of parts to clean up.
While Dad's cleaning things up out there, I got a little bit of body work to do inside.
This pallet's got all the panels and guards and things that are actually straight that we don't need to do any body work on, so we're going to put this in our sandblaster pile.
A lot of this is the heavy parts where I took off the rollers, the idlers, the carriers, all that stuff. I've chased the threads on the track frames.
Any threaded holes that we have on here, just put the bolts that go in there, let the heads of the bolts get sandblasted in the process.
This guy's ready. We can put it on the sandblast pallet. I've got it pretty well scraped clean of grease.
Dad out here in the cleanup area, he's cleaning up all the rollers here and all the grease, all the big stuff that we don't want to mess with the sandblaster and get impregnated into other pieces of metal.
Once things get cleaned up,
I'll be doing some body work over here and getting dents straightened out on the welding bench. And I got my work cut out for me. So we've also sorted those, so all those panels over there on the floor, they need some body work.
after Dad's got the preliminary cleaning done,
then we put the stuff ready for a sandblaster on a pallet, and those need a little bit of grease cleaned off of them yet. So once they're on a pallet, we'll set them over here in the driveway so the sandblaster can access them. Dad's over here working on the rollers, and he noticed the shims that are in here, so we're going to make sure we keep those together.
This side doesn't have any.
No? They were all over on this side, and there's a whole bunch of little ones right there.
Yeah, they go on the outside.
Dad's going to get all this big chunks of grease and stuff out, but most of it's dried up and it falls off,
I got a day's work here, man.
Yeah, we both do.
I got to get a trash can.
There's no real big grooves in here. These pins really look pretty good.
You know, them are pretty tight. See, this goes... Oh, this does have some shims in here.
Oh, there you go.
It's got one. Okay, this is this side. I'm going to leave it like this.
And this side's over here. Well, the only things that I think I'm going to need to put new seals in is these carriers, and I might steal that carrier off of 5T. Before I get started with my body work, Dad wants to make sure all the greasers are going to work on the rollers. So I am going to put a tube of this John Deere cornhead grease, which is what everybody says to use on the ACMOC site. So that's what we're going to use. And boy, filling a grease gun really brings back memories. That really brings back memories too. I know a lot of you are thinking right now, that's not the right grease gun, but I kind of got an adapter. I hear it. There was nothing in it.
No, it's dry.
It's taking it.
Well, keep going till it comes out.
There it goes.
Yep, there we are.
We're good.
Nice. So I'll do that with every one of them, be sure they work. This part, I'll just wire brush and paint ourselves. We don't have to worry about them coming apart or none of that.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
And I'll just have him do the rollers.
This is one of the side panels that goes on the oil filter side of the machine. What I'm going to do is grind all this off first, take this completely off, straighten the panel, and then I'll tack it back together from the inside.
they definitely welded it good, I'll give them that.
These are kind of a knockout that are in this side panel where you can attach things to the front of the tractor. I got a seam right here, and I think I'm going to try and cut that with my die grinder.
That ought to clean up pretty nice. I'll grind that off smooth, and I can tack weld this panel back in when I get the rest of this straightened.
Weld repair right here that I'll need to grind down. I think I'm going to have to heat all this up so I can get this bent out of there, and I'll grind this back down nice and flush. I'll use my little die grinder for that because I don't want to gouge any of the metal. That's okay if that breaks. When I get this rolled back and get everything straightened up, I'll re-weld it. I didn't see that one. I'll have to grind that off. I think that one's ready for a stitch weld. Got that down out of there pretty good. It looks pretty good. And so I think I'm going to take my die grinder and kind of open this crack up a little bit so that this will move in here. I'll stitch weld that back together in a minute. And then I'm going to work on this last part right here. And then I can get the welder out and finish it up. So in case you're worried about how hard I'm beating on this stuff, it is actually 1/8 inch thick steel. So this stuff takes quite a bit to move it. All I got to do is straighten this out here, flatten this a little bit more in here, and then I'll tack weld this back together and tack weld my plate in here. I'm gonna clamp this down to this piece of angle iron to keep this all lined up where I want it. And I've got a little bend here I need to pound out right there. Get that straight, grind this off. Got this ready to weld. I got a little bit of grinding done around here so I can tack weld this in. Now I need to work on this. And this is warped a little bit because when they welded it, well, heated it, plus it got bent. Something got between the track and this panel and bent it pretty bad, but I'd say we're looking pretty good. Not too terrible. A little undercut with the grinder on this corner. That one was a bigger pain than I thought it was going to be. I think this one's ready for sandblast. I've got it about as good as I'm going to get it, and I stitch welded it from the inside, and this seam is visible on the outside on the other one, and I've got this about as good as I can get it. Yeah, it's going to need a little bit of body putty to straighten some of this stuff up, but I'm actually pretty happy with it considering how damaged it was. I'm not going to take you through the process with all of these, so here's the other side panel. That is the last pallet load of stuff to be sandblasted and sheet metal to be straightened, I hope. There's probably one hiding back there for me somewhere. The beauty's been that I can actually turn some music on out here in the shop and enjoy the music.
I can't have music while I am filming for obvious reasons. And bonus points if you can guess what kind of music I listen to. And it is not country. Something tells me nobody will ever guess it. Never guess it in a million years. But let me show you what we've gotten done in the last few days. So you saw the pallet inside the shop, sitting on the skid steer, waiting to come out here. But we've got this fender, track guards, everything clean. Dad got all of the rollers cleaned up, all the big particles of grease. We're still debating about sandblasting these, how we're going to do it. But got all those sitting here on a pallet. The firewall, I'm going to use the fan shroud off of 7J. The one-piece one from 4G is rusted out completely in the corners. And I could fix it, but I don't want to spend the time. The carriers and the idlers, we're going to go ahead and sandblast together. And we're going to take them apart later. The cooler, there's the other fan shroud. That is the one off of 4G, but the two-part one is over there from 7J. I don't know. I may, after we get it sandblasted, weld a new corner in there. We'll see. The grill, all of that. Our seat. The toolbox. I love my toolbox. The other fender that we just straightened the corner on the back. Last but certainly not least, the track frames. And our plan is to just stick bolts that we want sandblasted anyway in all the holes and let them get sandblasted. We're not going to disassemble this spring. I don't see any reason to do so. We have already loosened it when we took the tracks off on both sides, so that's not even necessary, and it's all working. What do you think? Does it look okay? So I know the toolbox, somebody tried to weld it on the end, and no, it wasn't me, but it turned out okay. What about everything else? Did it meet your approval? Okay. All right, that sounds good. Big Stripes approves. And now she says, you need to pet me. I'm going to go inside and pet Big Stripes, but I do want to thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. And the next one is going to be taking tracks off of something over there. Let's go inside. Come on, kitty. She said, I can't. I got more to inspect. I'm toast.